This initiative that we are present today also aims to promote intergenerational dialogue between young leaders participating in Ubuntu United Nations and more experienced leaders, including former presidents of the Republic and prime ministers, members of the Club of Madrid. This organization, the Club of Madrid, also gives us the honor to be associated with the Ubuntu United Nations. With us, we have its president, President Danilo Türk, former president of Republika Slovenia, who we warmly welcome. Welcome, President Danilo Türk.
Thank you very much. And a very warm welcome to the participants of the Ubuntu Leaders World E-Summit. For the last 2 hours, I have been listening to very inspiring discussion involving young people. The voices of Ubuntu ambassadors are strong, persuasive, and committed. And this is very important. This is very good. The world needs young voices, and your voices must be heard. Now, dear friends, I am joining you today as president of Club de Madrid, the organization of 110 former prime ministers and presidents of different countries from all over the world, from 70 countries from different parts of the world. And we work together with a number of leaders, both leaders of countries and leaders of civil society, academia, business community, and share our political experience, which we believe can be of help in dealing with the problems of our era. Now, this experience of people with past duties is at the core of our commitment and our sense of responsibility and support to success of governments and other actors today. I would like to tell you a little bit about some of our activities where we come together, where the Ubuntu ambassadors, Ubuntu United Nations, participants in the Ubuntu World Summit, express views which very much coincide with what we are trying to do. I think we are allies in a common and just cause. For about 15 years now, we have been working on the concept of shared societies. And we define shared societies as something that all individuals have in common in the sense of belonging and responsibility. And that's very important because recognizing the diversity is an alternative to divided societies. We believe that striving to build shared societies is critical for success of our democracies, for our economies, and empowering our citizenry. There can be no shared society without recognizing diversity and building bridges that aim to build better societies. Now, this is our point of departure, but we also think and work globally. And over the past years, we have seen weakening of multilateral global efforts. The current global health crisis has put evidence on the importance to build communities in which all individuals have a sense of shared responsibility. Moreover, we have become even more convinced about the importance of strong multilateral system. Such a system is necessary for the world to overcome COVID-19 pandemic and the existential threat of global warming, as well as a range of other problems of our time. And all this, from the local to global level, requires leadership, a leadership approach based on values of solidarity, equity, and cooperation. Now, the current pandemic highlighted the existing vulnerabilities and challenges that face everywhere and everybody in the world. Over the years, the COVID-19 has, and this is a very important feature, deepened the inequalities that existed before, and that affects minorities and vulnerable communities in all countries more than anyone else. Unequal access to healthcare, housing, to remote work or education, to livelihood support, and social protection are painfully visible today. They were there before, but they are more visible now. They have placed certain communities, many of which are identifiable as racial, ethnic, religious, or linguistic minorities, in the position of heightened vulnerability to the pandemic, which disproportionately lose lives and livelihoods. And our institutions, national and global, have failed to protect them. And this has to change. There is an opportunity to boost cooperation at all levels, showing that we must act in solidarity and coordination to provide real and sustainable solutions today. We are supporting the global movement. We in the Club de Madrid, we are supporting the global movement for the people's vaccines that should become available to all. For the past few months, and as part of the People's Vaccine Alliance, Club de Madrid has been advocating global measures. A global pandemic requires global response and global solutions. Therefore, we are supporting the initiative of South Africa and India, and we welcome the decision of the US government, all of them advocating a temporary suspension of the intellectual property rules of the World Trade Organization regarding the COVID-19 vaccines. We are pleased that the European Union has also expressed its attention to discuss the proposed waiver of those protections. Now, this development is important because it can ensure that future production of vaccines will meet the need of the people. And it is essential that vaccine reaches all people, everywhere. Now, COVID-19 related activities are a very important priority today, but they're not the only priority. I personally have spent my career working to convince international organizations of the value of the concepts of solidarity, human rights, equity, and cooperation. 26 years ago, I was working at the United Nations and we organized the first World Summit for Social Development. The concepts enunciated in that summit in 1995 have subsequently evolved into further programs of the United Nations, now the Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals, of which the Secretary General Antonio Guterres spoke a few minutes ago. And all of them are a more important global tool to promote inclusive human development than they were ever before. A quarter of a century after this first summit, the time has come that we look into the causes and solutions for the deep socioeconomic crisis which will engulf much of the world. And we must approach the policies of social development with a great sense of urgency today. With a few years left to deliver on the 2030 agenda, the global community needs to recalibrate its approach and commitments to deliver on social justice and inclusion in areas like social protection, health, education, and of course, decent work for all. Now, this requires a global conversation in civil society and among political decision makers at the highest level. And the young generation of leaders needs to be part of that. So the voices of Ubuntu ambassadors, the United Nations Ubuntu ambassadors, are very precious at this point. I am very honored, therefore, to be with us to launch the Ubuntu United Nations Building Bridges, Igniting Youth Action for Unity in Diversity. A very important and timely initiative which aims to activate young leaders from around the world committed to ethics of care, bridge building, servant leadership, importantly, servant leadership, to mobilize for unity in diversity, inspired by the values of the United Nations. We need a global mobilization, a new generation of young leaders, leaders like the ones whom I heard in the past 2 hours of our work. The digital revolution has created wonderful opportunities of bringing all of us together, and we'll have the opportunity to the young people to interact, to dialogue, and to work together at a global scale. And I have noticed my friend José Ramos Horta suggesting that some of the leaders be included in the United Nations leadership to help Secretary General Antonio Guterres to develop his proposals further along the lines of the needs of the young generation. The Ubuntu United Nations will count on the participation of 193 youth delegations from each country who will be given a seat at the United Nations. We have brilliant, strong young people and leaders inspiring Nobel Prize laureates from all over the world. I'm very pleased that so many dedicated young people in the audience today are with us, because we need all these voices. I would like to extend therefore my congratulations to the Ubuntu Global Network for holding this initiative and managing to get together so many of you. I encourage young people from all parts of the world to apply to this initiative and implement the bridge-building vision of the participants. We should be inspired by the leadership of Nelson Mandela, who at his time showed the way forwards. In his difficult time, he was able to show the way forward towards a better world, a world of more equity, justice, and solidarity. Now, this is an unfinished journey along which we all have to travel together. Our organization of former presidents and prime ministers, Club de Madrid, will be participating in the intergenerational dialogues, bringing our experience to world leaders and youth leaders, and bringing us all together into the discussion on issues of today, such as human rights, peace and reconciliation, gender equality, poverty eradication, intercultural dialogue, environmental crisis. I hope that we can see and work together in these discussions in the coming months. Let me conclude my welcome with a thought from the great Nelson Mandela. He once said, "Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great." Now, you can be, and I'm sure you will be that generation. I thank you for your attention.